Hi, Facebook. Hi, everybody on the Fortis page. Nice to see you all this evening. Hope you're all surviving half term with very little to distract children with, unfortunately, this week. So really excited to be talking to Toni Buckle-Weavers tonight from Ebb Flo. Hi, Toni.
Hello.
We're going to be talking about all things self-care and just to learn a bit about Toni and her perspective on well-being, really, because I think we come from a very similar place in the way we see it, and it would be really interesting to chat that through. Please make sure that you comment, say hello, ask any questions that you want to ask. We're happy to take anything that you know, even if you want something clarifying or you've got ideas you want to share, all welcome. So, Toni.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about how you got to kind of get to the place of owning Ebb Flo, because there's a bit of a journey to get to that point, isn't there?
Yeah, so I'll kind of start pre Ebb Flo, because it's something that I don't think many people know about actually. So yeah, so I was actually working in mental health before I started Ebb Flo up. I'd studied at university. I did my degree in psychology. And had like a vision of pursuing a psychological career. This is my dream. I wanted to be a doctor, a clinical psychologist, and that's kind of the career I was pursuing. And the degree was amazing. I absolutely loved it. And everything there was to kind of learn about psychology was great. Working in mental health was a completely different scenario, as I'm sure you know. So yeah, I kind of fresh out of uni, I went to work for our local mental health organisation. So I worked in actually loads of different areas in mental health. So I started off working in an acute section. So that's where you're working with people that are really sick and have been hospitalised. And that was a really difficult job to do, more emotionally than sort of anything else. But that was kind of one of the sections. Another, the section I worked most in was actually eating disorders. I loved working in that department. It was so much fun. Like the team there were great. Everything about the job role was great. And I also worked in a rehabilitation unit. So that was when people were obviously going from being hospitalized back into the community, or if they had like severe learning difficulties and needed support and stuff like that. So it was in the eating disorder setting that I kind of set my sights on maybe a different career pathway, and I was looking into either DBT or CBT. And DBT at the time was really good for working with eating disorders, and that was something I found really interesting.
Personality problems as well is great.
Yes, indeed. So, but at the time it was quite new around here. It wasn't a well-known thing. So, and CBT had already been going on for sort of a lot longer. It was a lot more known about. So I decided to kind of choose that career pathway instead. And so I started a diploma with Hull Uni, which I quickly stopped. So it was kind of around this time that I'd been working in mental health for a couple of years, building up. It was a really tough job to do. So kudos to anybody who does work in mental health, because it is such a difficult job to do. And I almost felt quite restricted in what I could offer. Like I've said before, I understand that within that sort of setting, you have to have very strict guidelines and processes that you have to follow, because you're caring for people and it's intense and you have to be so careful. But there were also like people that would just put barriers in the way for no apparent reason, whether they were power thirsty or whatever it was. And I felt really restricted, and I felt like I could give so much more, and felt like I was being restricted from doing that, which made me feel like I wasn't performing to my best. And I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And this is, so like I say, around the time, the idea of Ebb Flo, this is like 2016, the idea of Ebb Flo sort of floated in my mind, and I like put it past Vince, and I was like, what do you think? Do you think we could try and make a go of this locally, and maybe along the line incorporate mental health into what we're doing, and just kind of see how things go. Along the way, I'd sort of learned about the benefits of water, the benefits of physical activity on mental health and things like that. So physical activity just in general is one thing. Being outside is almost like a catalyst of that. And then the water as well is even bigger. So it's like all these huge, amazing benefits. And I was like, surely we can do something. And so I decided to quit and give it a go. I was like, that's it, I'm done. So it was like I was 5 years at uni, nearly 3 years in mental health, having kids in between. So it's almost 10 years of my life. And then I was like, nah, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm going to try something different. And so that was kind of the idea sort of behind Ebb Flo. So we launched Ebb Flo in 2017. And initially what we've done is just kind of test the business model, see if it works, see if we can actually survive as a family by doing this. And then once we know we can start to integrate those deeper layers to what we want to do. And that's kind of where we are now. COVID has given us that opportunity to really sort of dig deep and think, where do we want to take the brand? What is it we want to do? And we've defined ourselves as a lifestyle brand. We're really passionate about well-being. We're really passionate about people and the planet. So it all kind of comes into one big thing. So now we have this product, people, planet motto where we sort of incorporate water, giving people some sort of, solitude or social life or whatever it is, and now we're starting to really sort of dig deep into the benefits of that and how it's super helpful, not just for us and your average Joe who can just get out there, but for other communities as well. So we've been, like I say, we've been going since 2017 now, and we do all sorts, even like our products tie into everything we do. We're very sustainably minded. Everything we do has to be good for the planet. It can't just be a quick fix, a quick money-making thing. It's not about that. It's really about connecting with everything that we do, connecting with our community, connecting with the people that come along, and then providing products and services that all tie in and give back to that. So there's just, I call it a beautiful onion. There's lots of layers to it.
I'm sure that's out of Shrek or something like that. But I love that idea of, because one of the things, because obviously I've worked in mental health and took the plunge to run my own business as well. And I think what you're talking about is a real kind of freedom to be creative around those values and ethics that sound like they're really, it's almost like you've formulated that over the last few years, really thought about what's important to you and how to bring all of those things together in one place.
Yeah. It's almost like my dream job. I'm still very, I get told all the time, mostly by my brother, is like, you can't save everybody, because I want to help people. I want to help people all the time. And we've spoken about, when people have visited, when we've had kids from like deprived areas that have even just come to the beach to do a beach clean, for example, but just having that experience of actually just the beach. And you're like, oh, wow, actually, you strip that back. And even just that on some level is a huge deal to people. And there are so many people down the road that have not experienced it. And it's like, no, that can't be a thing. So yeah, my dream is now that actually I can be doing something that I'm good at and promote those positive things as well. I like to be positive as much as I can.
Well, that came across when you were talking about COVID, because obviously a lot of people running a business are kind of like, oh God, COVID's been the worst thing ever. But actually, the way that you've kind of framed that is that it's given you space to think about where are we actually heading, and maybe you've got there maybe faster in some ways than you would have done before because you've had that space.
Yeah, there's without a doubt that COVID has been, we do feel very lucky, and I don't like talking about it too much because I know it's been hard for a lot of people, but for us particularly, yes, it has, exactly what you've just said, provided that space to think and to be able to, really connect with our values. What is it we want as people? What do we want to do? What do we want to give to people? What is Ebb Flo about? And then now we're sort of working on getting that message out there, getting that story out there of what we want to do. And if we can sort of help people along the way, however that may be, and there's loads of different ways in that can be done, then absolute bonus. That for me, I'm like, yes.
Yeah. It ticks all those boxes, doesn't it? But I think one of the things you just said there about you mentioned community, and I think that's when you're talking about Ebb Flo and the paddleboarding and the water and the beach cleans and all that kind of thing. For me, a lot of what we're trying to kind of get back to at the minute, I suppose, is because I don't know, it's a connectivity with other people, isn't it? And how to provide that, and how to create opportunities for that when I suppose currently we're being told to socially distance when actually we're probably more should be physically distancing, but the social connectivity and that community aspect is really important.
Sorry, carry on.
No, carry on. No,
I was going to say, I think putting a differentiation between physically distancing and socially distancing is so important. Like, I've never heard that before, and I'm like, yes, Alexis. So true.
I've been banging on about it for every talk I do.
And so many people would agree. We are social creatures. We need to speak to people. We need to, I mean, in a normal day society without COVID, we're told to talk about our problems and to confide in people and to trust, and that's been completely taken away from us. I know we've had things like Zoom and stuff like that, but it's not always, you know, being able to go for a walk and catch up with somebody and explain what's going on is a huge thing. And I think if you can be safe outside, and I know we have to follow the guidance and stuff at the moment, but if you can be safe outside, physically distance with people, bringing that social element back to people's lives. Oh my God. I mean, what was that? I was going to Willesby Woods the other day and I was so excited. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm getting out of the house and, you know, we're doing this and it's crazy. And you think, wow, you know, I would have never have got that excited a year or so ago about going to the woods. Like, it's bittersweet, I guess, because it's like, oh, how sad, but then at the same time it's like, well, actually don't take that so much for granted, because that kind of stuff we need as people, we need as sentient beings, we need that 100%.
Absolutely. And I think it's that connection between, so the connectivity with others, but it's also that connection between physically how we're doing, mentally how we're doing, but also being surrounded, whether that's in the woods or, you know, at the beach or wherever it might. I mean, I live in the Lincolnshire Wolds and took my mum for a walk yesterday, a bit further than I think she anticipated, but I got her a coffee at the end of it from a takeaway, so that was all good. She forgave me, but there was something about walking side by side and just, you know, going where we needed to go. We were walking forward but talking about things as well, and I think all of that quite, you know, there's that connectivity with all of that, isn't it? It's not just about who you're with, it's where you are and your conversation you're having and where, you know, where you go with that.
It's such a bigger picture. I think one of our little mottos is connect to protect, and we kind of use that, we've used that in the past with more to do with our beach cleans, connecting people with the water so that, you know, they'll innately want to protect the seas and things like that. But actually it extends far beyond that. Like you were saying then, you know, you're connecting with people and it's about protecting your community, protecting your neighbours, making sure that people are looked after. It's on that scale as well. And I think it's a huge thing that a lot of people are missing out on at the moment, and it is quite sad. Hopefully not for much longer.
No, let's hope not. Let's hope these vaccines do their thing. We're all relying on that at the moment.
Definitely.
I think Joe, have you got some things that are coming in the chat?
Yeah, I know we're going to get onto this definitely at some point, but Pete is he's saying he's a firm believer in water-based type therapy, be that ponds or pools. It's always amazing for him to just go swimming. And kind of through your work, how have you found the therapy aspect side of things combining with water?
Amazing question. So one of the reasons for me doing this for myself, or for starting the business, was for myself. I know that we've spoken before about the whole helpfully selfish thing, and I'll go into more detail a bit later, but for me, every single day I am by the sea. I'm looking out the window, the sea is there, near or far. It's the most amazing feeling in the world. Just being there is one thing, and then when you're introducing people into that environment and seeing their reactions, it's like giving someone the best Christmas present they've ever received. The feeling of, like, I get emotional sometimes, like if especially if there's a kid that's just like, oh, and you know, it's, for me personally, it's been one of the best things I've ever done, like hands down the best thing I've ever done. I love the water. It is my happy place. It's my time to be a kid. It's my time to just unwind, not think, be free, be creative, all those positive things. And that's a huge element of why I wanted to sort of do all that in the first place. So
did you know before you started Ebb Flo that was something that really helped you? Or was that something you discovered along the way?
Water in general is definitely something I've known for a while. So I got into surfing a little bit when I was younger. I started when I was like 14. And I remember my first experience and coming out and just feeling like, wow, like catching that first wave and being like, oh my God, I'm riding a wave. It's like, I can't explain it.
At that point, you fall off.
Yeah, and you're in the drink. It's so amazing. And coming out of the water, just having this buzz, this like, oh, this high of, oh my God, it's almost awe-like. And I couldn't explain it. And for ages and ages and ages, I couldn't explain it until I came across the book Blue Mind. And this is something I've been talking about a lot this month. And Blue Mind is a book by a Dr. Wallace J. Nichols, and he's explaining all the scientific benefits of the water in many different ways. But he explains within that the emotional responses that humans get to water. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but he explained it and how you feel. And I was like, that's it.
That's it.
It's Blue Mind. That's what I'm feeling. And this is what I've been trying to convey to people this month over social media. And so many people have been like, that's exactly what it is. That's the feeling I get, that escapism, that just that sense of awe, that sense of happiness when you're out there. You can't explain it. You've just got to feel it. You've got to do it. It's awesome.
There's a lot of people I've noticed. I know which Pete's asked that question about the pond swimming, because I know it's one of the mechanisms he uses to kind of connect to himself and, you know, take himself away from life, I think. But I've been following is it Reverend Kate Bottley, you know, the one who used to be on Gogglebox?
Yes.
And she does open water swimming, and you kind of watch her going into the water in a swimming costume and a bobble hat and a pair of gloves. And but she talks about the kind of exhilaration that she gets from doing that. And I've never done open water swimming or anything like that, but I used to swim a lot when I was a kid. I used to swim for the county, and it was one of those things where if I was having a really tough time, I would just go and swim, and it would just be like almost the rhythmic bit about, you know, being in the water, not being able to hear anyone, not being able to talk to anybody. There's something about that as well that means you are left with your own mind and what's going on in your head, as well as what's happening in the water. And I think there's something to be said for that sometimes, just being able to work it through, but not being available to others as well, which it sounds bizarre me saying that, but I know that really helped me at the time.
Cutting off, I think I did a bit of a Q&A on Instagram yesterday about just asking people what the water does for them. And one of our followers commented saying that it's a place to completely cut off, to put your phone away and to go in the water. And
that's not going to work.
Yeah, to be completely disconnected from that availability, that available society that you did a little. And he was, and I get it. I totally get it, because I love not having my phone. I love it. I love switching it off and putting it away and being able to just, it's like, and again, if you're doing that and going in the water for that kind of peace of mind, whatever it is that you're going in there for, it's the best. It really is such a lovely feeling.
Do you think that there's kind of scope for, obviously there's children, you know, can use the water and paddleboarding, and, you know, you've kind of created an opportunity for people to go and give it a go, haven't you, and test themselves. I think there's something as well about taking a risk with something like that that's new. And I wonder, do you get people who kind of then can't wait to come back and do it again, and it's that kind of almost a bit addictive?
So honestly, I shared another post earlier on today just saying we can't wait to get back out on the water, and so many people have messaged like, oh, we can't wait. It is so addictive. Even like, I notice myself, if I've not been on the water for an amount of time, I get grumpy. I can tell when I've not been there. And it is, people experience it for whatever reason it is, and there's many, but just to be able to get out there and be, again, it's almost like being away from the shore. People can't get to you. People can, well, they could wade out, but they're not going to either. They're going to get wet. So you're out in the water, you're out the way. You can't. It is escapism. That's what I keep likening it to at the moment. You feel like you're completely escaping and just disconnecting from that little bit of land, and you're out in the sea. Your mind is your own. Your thoughts are your thoughts. And I thought, it's the only time I can not think. I never stop thinking. It's a gift and it's a curse at the same time. But
I'm with you.
always thinking, I can't stop, and I don't know how to stop it. I'm like, it's just my brain, just my creative brain. That's how I am. But when I'm in the water, nothing. It just, everything goes away. I feel like, I don't know if you've seen Harry Potter, but when Dumbledore takes his thoughts out and puts them in his pensive, I'm like, that's how I feel. I feel like I'm Dumbledore, just taking out my thoughts. And for however long I'm out there, I'm connected with the water. I'm in my happy place. I don't care about anything else but myself. And I'm just having a good time, and it's amazing.
And that's the bit where I think the self-care stuff, you know, you mentioned there about it's not selfish, you know, it's about taking that time out. And some of the way you've just described that about escapism, and you know, and it's okay to check out for a bit. And I think that's, from a self-care perspective, it's so important to recognize it's okay to do that, isn't it? Because everything is designed for us to be connected 24/7. So, and we can't function like that. And to actually give yourself permission to check out and to, you know, escape and disconnect from some of that stuff. I think, again, because that's quite addictive. Being available 24 hours a day is addictive. So it's trying to find other things that create the space for you to actually give yourself permission to put that to one side, I think.
100%. I've been that person, with the job that we have and with everything being so as popular as it has. I've been the person that has been on the phone all the time, available, answering the questions, and you grind yourself down and down and down and down. You exhaust yourself. And Vince will always say, babe, put your phone down. Don't answer that message. Wait till tomorrow. Do that. Like, and he's totally right. Because it completely does. It grinds away at you, and you get absolutely shattered. So when I say about being healthily selfish, what I mean is, and I know I've said to you guys before, selfish is often perceived as being something that's bad. When you say somebody's selfish, it's not a good thing if somebody's selfish. Being healthily selfish is about taking that time out for yourself. Like this week I've done that quite a bit, because I've been like, do you know what, I'm feeling a bit bogged down with the world, with everything that's going on, nothing in particular, just with what's going on. You feel a bit down, and it's like, we'll get out and about. That's why I went to the woods the other day. It's like, no, I'm just gonna 4 hours, that's all I was out for. 4 hours, no phone, playing with the kids, roasting marshmallows, happy days. And it was
simple stuff though.
And it's so simple. Like, people would go to the gym. People would go to the gym and smash out a workout, and that would be like their way to realign themselves, reset themselves. And it's the same for us when we go out on the water. We do exactly the same thing. Vince and I went out a few weeks ago when there was quite a swell, and we were able to catch some waves, and we were in the water, we were getting wet, and we just had such a laugh. But again, it's that we took that time out of our day to just have some time for ourselves, and it was fine. I'm getting to a point now where I'm starting to feel less guilty for taking time for myself, even if it's away from my kids. Love my kids to bits. We all love our kids. Sometimes you need a bit of
but yesterday, where do you do that? Because you know, I mean, they're here all the time. I've got 3 in my house, teenagers, and you just kind of like. But yesterday, when I kind of left my mum, my dad picked her up, and I walked back on my own and had music on, and you know, it was beautiful where I live, and I had to stop myself from singing because I realised there were people kind of coming up the lane and things like that, and nobody wants that. But it was that bit about actually creating some space where nobody knew where I was. Actually, I could just have a bit of headspace. And that's the healthily selfish bit, that it's okay to plan it in, and it's okay to kind of actually give yourself time to do that. Whereas I think when maybe grown up, I know from a lot of the work we do therapeutically at Fortis, that, you know, you see the conditioning that people have where it's, you know, you shouldn't take time out for yourself. You should be on the bottom of your list. Even you might not even be on your list in terms of what you're responsible for. And you know, there's all this kind of messages we have growing up about that, and trying to change that, like these sessions that we're doing, the self-care. You know, it's okay to change that conditioning and actually put it in, because we need to. Otherwise, it does affect our mental health.
It does. I explain to my boys. I kind of say to them, they like their time on their own. And so I liken it to that. Like Luca, my eldest, he's 13. So he's, you know, out the way a lot now, he's a teenager.
You're not cool anymore.
No, Miles is only 8, so he's still very mummy daddy. But I'll say to them, look, and Miles is very emotionally intelligent, so he'll get it. And I'll say to him, look, you like your time by yourself, you like to go off and play with your Lego and this, that and the other, and it's the same for mummy sometimes just likes to go out and take Sia for a walk, the dog, or sit down and do a bit of painting, or go out paddleboarding, or do this and do that. And when I explain it to him like that, he gets it, and he's like, oh yeah, okay mummy, have a good time. And I'm like, thank you. Don't feel guilty. But no, like I'm starting to feel a lot less guilty about just that in general anyway, because I do feel like if you don't look after yourself, if I was to become poorly or run down, then I'm not able to look after my family at all or be around for them at all. I don't want to get to that point. So, communicate with them, let them know I need a bit of space, guys. I know it's not as easy as that, and they don't always give me it, but at least I can
you can ask.
Yeah, exactly. Please. Please give me some space. Oh dear.
And I do think that's something that we really need at the minute, just because, most of us are in a situation, where we are in a house with other people. There's a lot of people who aren't in that position. I understand that has its own difficulties and complexities as well.
Yeah.
But it's trying to make your circumstances work for you in the best way you can. And sometimes that's asking for what you need. And that, that can be tough, because do I have a right to ask for what I need? Yeah. But actually, if you don't, like you've just said, if you're, part of a system, a family or a group, or and you're not okay, you can't do all the other things anyway. And then you feel worse anyway, because you feel guilty because you haven't been able to do what you set yourself up for.
Absolutely. We try to speak to the boys on a team level, teamwork makes the dream work and all that kind of thing. But, yeah, you get on top of each other. Me and Vince, we talk a lot, which is one of our things that we always say to each other. We need to check in, and we need to make sure that we do that regularly to stay sane, basically. But yeah, we have to talk. And I've in the past not been the best person for expressing what's on my mind, or not being able to, not really knowing what it is, just knowing that I'm in a grumpy mood. I don't really know why. But like since COVID, you had to work together. You've had to be more collaborative. And I'm definitely better now at saying, right, okay, this is bothering me, and go into detail of what it is and express that. And it's like, well, yeah, okay, that's fine. We can deal with that. Let's talk through it. And you always think in your head, it's a big deal. It's a big thing. And, when we hash it out and break it down, it's not.
No.
It really isn't. And it's like, oh God, all that worry of, and I am a massive worrier. I might not come across like that, but I procrastinate all the freaking time. It never stops. This is my overthinking. And to sort of stand there and go, right, okay, I've been thinking about this is bothering me, and this, that, and the other, and it's every day now. You might be getting bored.
It's like, I didn't expect this to go on for a year.
Bless him. But just having that is massively helpful. And that's part of our, I guess as a couple, that's part of our sort of self-care for each other. And as a couple to, be able to just speak about stuff freely and not feel ashamed of it, or not feel stupid about it, or whatever. It might be something that you feel is dumb, but they don't take the mick, do they? So it's
funny actually, because me and my husband, we do a similar thing. We have check-in conversations, because you can tell when each other's kind of not, I don't know, it's just kind of you coming out of your good place, if you like. Yeah. And we've said to our kids, because normally before kind of COVID, I would have given him a ring on the way back from a meeting, or there'd have been those natural conversations. But because none of that happens, we actually speak less in the day than we did before. And so we've had to say to the children, can you just give us half an hour just to have a conversation, without, because otherwise it's all trying to manage what they want and not enough about what we need. And in order to be able to parent and not lose it on a daily basis, you have to be able to factor something in that helps.
Absolutely. And we've done, again, like at the moment, going out on the water together, actually doing that together, that's been so nice. Like going out by yourself is lovely, to be able to just have, a little bit of you time on your own, but then going out together and like watching each other prat around, watching each other fall in, having actually laughing and laughter at the minute, because of COVID, because we've not had those moments of laughter so much over the last year or so. It's been hysterical. Like, you can't contain yourself laughter, and it's been so good. It's almost like, what's the word? Exemplified.
Amplified.
Thank you. Amplified those feelings. So again, we're out on the water, we're taking the mick out of each other, having a laugh, and it's exemplified again those benefits of being out there and having a little bit of time together. It's been really cool.
But that's the child bit as well, free child bit, isn't it? Yeah.
Got to keep the kid. I'm a big advocate for that.
You have all these hashtags.
Yeah, be more kid.
I think it's a brilliant piece of advice. Joe, is there anything on the chat or anything questions wise or comments? You've got to unmute.
Loads of comments, just people talking about kind of their relationship with water.
Yeah.
Really. Or questions just popped up. Ian's asked, are people more aware of the seasons and the changes when outside and actually in the space? I'm guessing he means out on the water. And is it something that you do all year round? Or I know when we were talking the other day, you were saying a lot of people are fair weather.
Yeah.
Underwater.
Yeah. So just read the first bit to me again, Joe.
Are people more aware of the seasons and the changes when they spend time outside and actually in the space, as in being outside?
Right, okay, then yes, definitely. So there's a massive difference, obviously, to the water state and the water temperature seasonally. You get more people out in the summer. That's just a given. People like the sunshine and the warmer weather. But there has been a lot more people paddling throughout the winter this year, us included. And it's, again, the cold water has its own benefits on its own. And that's something we've been tapping into this year. Vince has been exploring the Wim Hof thing, and that's all to do with cold water submersion, and that's something that we've done a little bit this year, as of some of our friends, and it's been something, again, that's been beneficial. But I guess, yeah, spending time outside, you are going to be more connected to the seasons and what goes on. So we try to do it all year round. But my worst nightmare would be somebody new coming along and falling into a 2 degrees C and cold.
Absolutely freezing.
Yeah.
A comment's just been flagged up that's actually bypassed me. It's Shane saying, I'm a firm believer in using the outdoors for therapy and paying back this natural resource with kindness and care. It's certainly something that has helped me so much over recent years. I also think children are naturally drawn to the outdoors and all it offers. However, trying to encourage my students, 16 to 19-year-olds, to get off Call of Duty for 5 minutes and take advantage of what we have on our doorstep seems impossible. I took a group of my students with learning difficulties for some outdoor learning sessions to try to pass on some of my enthusiasm for nature, which they loved, but they couldn't wait to get back to their computers. How can we work to engage that age group more and help them see the benefits of being outdoors?
So get them out on the water. You can, it's almost like it's giving them something to do. So I get where he's coming from. I think a lot of that has to do with how people have been brought up. It's like teaching an old dog new tricks. If all of a sudden you're taking a child that has maybe gamed all of their life from a young age and then trying to introduce them to something that you know is beneficial. I'm trying to think of an example. It's completely out of the comfort zone. I've just thought of an example. Ages ago, my boys, we're outdoorsy people, so my boys are used to the outdoors. They are used to playing with Lego, making things up with it, using their imagination, being creative with their play. I've always encouraged that because I'm so passionate about it. And we had a sleepover, this was years ago, and a group of the boys came round and got them set up in Luca's bedroom. They're all playing and this, that, and the other. And I think there was maybe doing Nerf wars or whatever. And one of the kids was like, oh, what are we doing? I was like, just playing. He went, what with? And I was like, oh, with like the Lego and the Nerf guns. He went, well, how do I play? I was like, what do you mean, how do you play? And he was like, what? And I was like, you just play. And he kind of looked at Luca, and Luca was like, And that blew my mind. I was like, what do you mean, how do you play? You're an 8-year-old child. You should know how to. This kid, all he'd done is game. So he knows no different. But then when you're introducing them to something like the outdoors, I mean, my kids, we do all sorts of stuff like bushcraft. So my kids have got axes, they've got knives, they've got crossbows, everything. We obviously oversee them very carefully. But it's giving them something exciting to do that engages them with being outside. So like associating something cool with being outside. So going on paddle boards, for example, we've had some kids that have come from some maybe disadvantaged schools, and they've been used to being kicked out and this, that, and the other. And then when they've actually been and done something like paddleboard, and it's like, oh my God, this is so cool. Yeah, we love the sea. Let's jump in. Let's do. It's making it exciting for them, making something exciting, something for them to look forward to. Sometimes, you know, if you just say to a kid, come off your game, let's go for a walk. Oh, great. Yeah, let's just go for a walk. It's not that exciting for them. So it's about creating an environment for them that is actually engaging and gives them something to do, or give them a sense of purpose, give them a task to do. We went to a place called Back to Bear recently. Absolutely amazing. We did all sorts of stuff, and we could have stayed there all day, kids and adults alike. But it gave, we all had stuff to do. We were team building and we were doing all sorts of stuff, and everybody loved it. And we were outside the whole time. It was raining, nobody cared. We just had an awesome time.
I think as well, don't underestimate the fact that you have taken this group out. Don't underestimate the fact that you have given them that as well. You know, that yes, it might be that they want to revert straight back to what they know, but actually without you having done that, they wouldn't have had that experience either. So it's recognizing that when you have made a difference and you have created an opportunity, that, you know, it is important to see that as well, isn't it? That
one thing my because again, this is the whole me wanting to save the world thing. My bro always says to me, even if in a group of people, say there's 30 people, you've got a whole class there, even if one of those children experiences what you want them to experience, you've changed that kid's life that day. Yeah. You don't have to reach out to everybody. That's something I'm trying to get used to.
And you don't know when it's going to impact either, because that's the other thing, that you might do it today, and that might, because I think this with therapy, you know, you might invest in working with somebody today, and you might see some of it makes a difference, but it could make a difference several weeks, months, even years down the line that you don't ever see.
No, it could be a career choice. It could be a decision. It could be anything. Yeah, you don't know where that's going to take them.
Absolutely. I'm just conscious of the time, Joe. Is there anything else you want to say from the comment?
Just one from Andy saying, what's it like living with an awesome westerly?
Pretty awesome.
There,
look. He's the best, you know, out of, I definitely, no, I nearly said that out loud then. You know, when you blow a trumpet, and I was going to say, no, don't matter anyway. But yeah, big fan of Vince. Thanks, Andy.
Shane's just saying thank you very much for the comments about getting kids outside.
No worries. And if Shane wants to message me and talk any more about that, I'm a massive advocate for getting kids outdoors. So let's build out some outdoor schools, Shane. There we go. Mess up the system.
Absolutely. Definitely. So thanks ever so much, Toni. I think we've smashed through the half hour. We have, look, 40 minutes. Amazing. I know. I said it would go quickly, didn't I? Thanks for everyone who's commented and asked questions, and, you know, please keep sharing this, because if somebody hears, you know, some of this stuff that might be helpful, then that's the whole point, really, is just sharing ideas about self-care. And thanks, Toni, for coming along and talking to us and sharing all your wisdom. It's been brilliant. It's been really good to hear from you. And we'll say goodbye to everybody on Facebook. Thanks ever so much, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.